What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dim Carnival. This is Bill.
This is Steve.
And this is Ryan.
And this week we're talking about part 2 of Carnival of Carnage. We're talking about tracks. Okay, so what we discovered between last week and this week is that if Ryan and I listen to the CD of Carnival of Carnage, that we both have like the first issue of Carnival of Carnage, it has 2 fewer tracks than the Spotify version or the current CD that you will buy of Carnival of Carnage. That's what we discovered.
That's so fucked up. How is that real? Because the 2 songs that are on it, so you lose Psychopathic, or does it also have Psychopathic?
No, it's got Psychopathic.
So it just has all the tracks.
It has all the tracks, but 2 more tracks. What we talked about last week was we said we were going to listen to Neck Hoe, Wizard of the Hood, Guts of the Ceiling, Is That You, Night of the Axe, and Psychopathic. But when Ryan went to listen to his CD, he was like, I don't have Night of the Axe. What is this song?
Right, never heard of it.
And then I had listened to the tracks on Spotify, but then I went to listen to the CD in my car while I was driving places, and it didn't have Night of the Axe on it. So if you are listening along with us, be aware that there may be discrepancies, but what we're going to default to when we're talking about the assignments for the coming week, go with Spotify, because I imagine if anyone's listening along with us, I imagine that's probably what they're going to go to, either that or like YouTube clips. So,
which you would just search by track name anyways.
Yeah. We're going to start with Neck Hoe, and we supplemented with the Twisted featuring ICP Neck Hoe that was on Psychopathic from Outer Space, which you talked about a little bit last week, right?
Yeah, I did talk about that. It was on Psychopathic from Outer Space.
Boy, howdy, is that version so much better than this version on Carnival of Carnage.
I completely disagree.
Really?
I 100%
Yeah, I kind of do too.
Reppin' to this bitch with a redneck, that fucking redneck. Reppin' to this bitch with a redneck, a down south bitch with a red ass neck.
Bitch, you got a red neck, but you look kinda straight, so I'm about to step. Heard you like fucking in pig pens. You never see boys, so you fuck your girlfriends, bitch. I know you's a hoe, so let me fuck you with my big.
Yeah.
I like the original much better.
Yeah.
Well, I like the most of the verses, the harmonica like loop, but then I dislike the like mouth harp boing.
Yeah. I think that's gonna start. I think this is a theme for the second half of the record, which is, by my opinion, it's like their older shit that they're just throwing in, or whatever. You know, they have all these other songs, and they put the kind of clowny, more fun ones up front, and these are the ones that are like have been recorded. I'm just assuming.
Yeah.
I don't know that. But
and I feel like with the exception of a couple of the tracks we're going to talk about this week, I feel like the back half of the album has like better produced music on it.
Well, so that's what I was going to say, is that, and the music particularly on the second half of the record, to me sounds more, there's a lot more of like funk bands and R&B songs that are being sampled. And there's this kind of like, to me when I listen to it, it's that kind of like funky Detroit, like, you know, like the gray streets with the smoke coming out of the sewer manhole cover, and it's like, you know, that kind of like, and so to me it feels like they're really trying to do that, like, we're from Detroit, guys, like, this is Detroit.
And, well, I agree, and to add to it, there are a couple songs that really stood out to me, and it depended on how I was listening to it. And then when I used headphones that have bass specifically in it, I noticed there were a few songs that were really bass heavy. Mm-hmm. And I remember in an earlier song, I can't remember if it's in the intro, I didn't bother to look it back up, but in some song they talked about like being bass driven. And in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, having a car that bumped hard was huge. And there's some songs on this album that if you have the right equipment, these songs bump hard. And
there's some tracks that
consider that.
There's some tracks we're going to talk about next week that I was listening to in my car, and like when they started, I was like, "Oh, damn, it's like a rap song."
But it's like but it's like sloppy bass though.
Sure,
you know,
course.
It sounds like, to me, it's like when you put your mom's house speaker in the back of your car. You know, when you were 16 or whatever, and you're like, "Yeah, that shit sounds good." It's like,
Well,
but I agree. Like I
Yeah.
had a nice sound system.
I
in
had
my car.
nothing. Sorry.
I had a pretty nice sound system in my car because I was a spoiled kid, and yeah, when I would listen to this, it sounded like shit because my system had a lot of bass, and it's such a sloppy bass that it like makes everything sound yucky.
Oh,
But it's very loud.
Interesting.
It's like, it's cranked up to, because that was like how the style of music was. They just wanted to like rattle your teeth out, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it sounded so good in my car, because I have a perfectly mid-range sound system.
Right? You're like, ooh, crisp.
Like, nice. Hey, there's some bass in here. So this song has a bunch of famous verses in it. We had gotten a fuck a hillbilly in the Juggler. We had gotten our first anti-bigoted line, but this is our first anti-redneck, anti-hick, anti-bigot track, in a sense. We'll get another one next week. We also have our first Southern accent from our first hick character from ICP at the beginning of this track.
Right.
Where they're talking about the broad they seen over there in the pumpkin patch.
It's like
Yes.
Willie Redneck Balls.
John fucking Red Balls.
Redneck fat fucking gizzard neck.
We have our first actual Shaggy 2-Dope verse.
It's the
on
first
this song.
verse, the first 2-Dope verse. Amazing.
And we also have our very first John Kick Jazz verse.
Jonathan Kick Jazz.
His given name.
Yep.
So guys, observations about the song other than it just being like a very misogynistic track.
Ugh. Okay, so the skit at the beginning, when I was a kid, when I got this record, I was like 14 or 15 years old, I don't know. That to me was the funniest fucking thing that I had ever heard about, when he talks about how her titties was floppering, I think is what and I have no idea what he says after that. She looked fine. I don't even know. I'm not even gonna guess. But the
Come a running through the hills, a hooping and a hollering, and her titties was
floppering. So this is a terrible, awful song, you guys. So we're going to talk about some songs, later on in the episode, songs that I heard for the first time this week, songs that I never knew existed. And
Right.
what I found is that when I hear something that's new to me, and it's these things like misogyny and whatever, homophobia, it's so gross. It's such a gross taste, and it's repulsive to me. And I'm like, oh God, I can't even, like, I don't even want to think or talk about this. And then I go back and listen to the exact same thing, the same words and the same concepts and the same tone in a song that I've been listening to since I was 15. And I'm like, oh, ha ha ha, it's fine. It's funny, you know? And I'll forgive it because of the nostalgia factor or whatever. But this is a fucking terrible song, man.
But you think it's better than the Psychopathic Outer Space version with Twisted?
Right. Well, that's just the same song where he like tries to add more words to the to the same rhymes.
Steve, I want to hear your thoughts on this track here.
So, because I was late to this album, I actually heard the Twisted version first, and I hated it. So when I heard this version, I hated it more, and
that's hilarious.
I hated it more. But as I listened to it, as I began to listen to this album at a later time where I wasn't listening, like I listened to all this like chunk of music that was mid 90s, late 90s, early 2000s for a long time. So this really weird, odd period. Then when I got sick of that, I went backwards, and that's when I started listening to Carnival of Carnage. So I heard this song, and it was worse at first because I hated this album. And then as I got shit-faced drunk a bunch of times listening to it, it wormed its way into me where I really ended up liking it in some ways. And this was still one of the few songs on this album I never liked.
Yeah.
And I liked that it was anti-racism, Like, so it was weird because I was like, oh, that's funny, that's cool, like, yeah, fuck those stupid rednecks. And then, but on the flip side, it was just so awful. I think at some point I was asking you guys about, we were keeping track of firsts and things that were reoccurring, and I said, let's maybe start keeping track of how many times they talk about breaking a woman's back by having sex with them. Right. And I'm pretty sure this was the first in this song, if I'm not mistaken.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this song.
So what I realize is that, this is like my second favorite song on the album. Like, this is the one that I definitely would identify as my second favorite after the Juggler. And I never listened to this song past like the second verse. So yeah, so the second
there's no reason to.
Right. Like, in the end it gets really, really bad. Like, it's like a different song or whatever.
The bridge is abysmal. The where he's listing the 4 redneck names that he can think of over and over again. Hoss isn't even a real name.
I want to stab her in the neck, or I want to fuck her in the ass.
Yeah. Well, the thing that stood out to me so much in this song is this is the first full verse we get of John Kick Jazz, I think. And it's possible that I'm just putting this reading into it because of what we know about Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope. But in my estimation, Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope are doing verses that are ICP, Insane Clown Posse verses that are goofy as shit. Like, they're saying horrible things, but they're saying them in a completely over-the-top, goofy way. And John Kick Jazz's verse is just a straight-up, like, hard gangster rap verse.
Right.
Yes,
very, very
it's
serious.
brutal. Yes.
Well, because, like, as bad as the content is, they can still turn a phrase. Like, Jay offering to fuck her with his big toe.
Okay. Okay. So in this song, he says, you didn't know that I'm a gigolo, you didn't know, right? And then the Twisted 99 version, he says juggalo.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. But Two Dope's verse is the reason why this song is so highly rated by me.
It's great. It's a really good verse.
Everything he says is hilarious.
Yes.
His idea, like, this is again, we have like a teenage Shaggy 2 Dope sitting down and thinking of every Southern stereotype that he can think of, and then just finding words to rhyme with them.
Yes. He has such a limited understanding of Southern culture and country music that he name drops Wayne Newton as the first example of a redneck.
Redneck's loving Newton.
But he can take a little Conway Twitty while he's sucking out a redneck titty.
Sure. Well, I mean, Conway Twitty is way better than Wayne Newton.
Yeah.
I like this verse is just so good. Like, I'll go down south with a piece of wheat hanging out of my mouth
and sporting a funky ass straw hat. But after he hits it, fuck that. He's taking that hat off right away.
I also really, really love I'm from the big city and I'm finna fall asleep on your big titty. Just the one.
Okay, so here's the thing. Is this song, is the third verse, is it like, I don't know if metatextual is the right word. Is he talking, to me it seems like he's saying that the first 2 verses are telling this story that is really offensive and people should be offended by. But then he's like, this little story that we just told doesn't even compare to how terrible you racists are. You're like the real evil ones and we're going to kill you.
Yeah, for sure. I also get, because the first 2 verses, the Shaggy Dope and the J, the Shaggy Dope, the Shaggy verse and the J verse imply that the redneck hoe, the titular redneck hoe, is a Southern woman or a Confederate woman that they're disgusted with, that has backward ways of thinking, and they're so disgusted with her that they will procreate or have intercourse with her as a means of humiliating her or demeaning her. Right. In the John Kick Jazz verse, he seems to imply that the redneck hoe in question is any bigot or racist that has backwards views and beliefs. So to me, what I'm getting out of this track is it was originally just an anti-racist track that they needed a third verse for, so they kept John Kickjazz's verse in there and then retroactively retrofit the song to be about a redneck hoe woman. That's what it seems like, because the first two verses are entirely about women, and the third verse is entirely about a bigot, like a theoretical bigot. Because the conclusion of his statement is, I'm a gat on a fucking racist. Like, I will kill a racist. Like, he's talking about you go lynching with your gang on a brother or a Mexican. Like, that doesn't sound like the woman in the first two verses.
That's a good point. Nice.
All right. Solved. So, in the last episode, I cut this part out. We talked about it, but I cut it out where I wasn't comfortable with whether or not I should say the word bitch. Like, it didn't feel comfortable to me to say it, but that I felt like in the first episode of a recording that to talk about that was weird, I guess. But what again, going back and listening to the song, it made me think about when I was that age, and bitch was probably the funnest word to say because it was like the least of the bad words. So I felt like saying it was bad, but it wasn't that bad. And so I loved saying bitch, like, and especially in songs like the hard B sound and all that. Like,
and also in coming albums, no one imbues the word with more glee than Violent J.
I think Violent J really loves to feel the words fall and fumble around in his mouth. He loves it.
He savors them.
It's salty.
Violent J likes to explore the space. He loves it.
Yeah. And we'll get into that later as well. All right. The next track is Wizard of the Hood, which...
Love it.
Apparently was also on Dog Beats.
One time, the ICP with this shit for you and your boys to say fuck yeah.
Motherfuckers all the way to
Yo,
Delaware.
Jay, kick some of that shit about the wizard and all that.
Drop
Drop a
motherfuckers all
psycho
the way to
beat
Delaware.
and go on rap, foreheaded fuck.
Shit, homeboy, you should have seen me. I was flipped at the party, drinking Fifth of MD. Straight passed out on his mother's bed. 7 cans of brew going through my head. Dreaming.
I absolutely, I hate this song a lot. This track. and I, it's funny because I absolutely love the Wizard of the Hood EP that Violent J did later in life, which we'll get to some years down the line. But this song is just garbage.
Are you kidding me?
It's awesome.
Spitting and cussing and holding our dicks. It's so good.
It's brilliant. It's so brilliant.
All right, you guys talk about this track.
I got nothing.
Okay, well, I don't even know, man. These go really well because you kind of hold them all together, Bill. So if you step back completely, it's gonna fall apart. But anyways. All right, so the first thing that I thought is that like the production sounds really raw, really to me like a late 80s more. And so I think I looked this when I was doing some research or whatever, I looked up, and this song was recorded from one of the first songs that Violent J recorded, and it was recorded in so many different iterations with different verses and all of that. That this version, I believe, was based on a recording of a live performance that they did one time or whatever. Like, and
this is the thing that sets Redneck Hoe sort of apart and First Day Out a little bit is that the vast majority of tracks on this album, like a good 80% of tracks on this album, do not have a hook or a chorus. It's just verses,
just
with
lyrics
some interlude
coming straight at you.
And so, yes, it's very much a product of like late 80s, like I'm going to make this rap song in my basement, and like, oh, wouldn't it be a funny idea if the Wizard of Oz was the ghetto that I understand? I get it. The song's definitely not as bad as some other songs that we'll even talk about this week. It's such an infantile song. Like, it none of the rhymes are good. Like, none of the flows are good. This is another famous first on this track, as we get a Kid Villain verse, as well as a John Kick Jazz and Shaggy 2 Dope and Violent J. So all 4 members of the Inner City Posse are on this track.
And they're dropping motherfuckers all the way to Del Rey.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I want to point out, which is this is the first track on the album where it really comes to the forefront, but the sound effects on this album are fucking garbage. Gunshot sounds. Later on in the album, there's some like breaking bone sounds that are just like, none of the sounds are like, they're like an interpretation of what a sound effects is supposed to be.
Yep. They were like holding up their, I don't even know, where do you get sound effects? From the library, like the public library of sounds.
I feel like Mike Clark or Joe Bruce had a keyboard where it's like you flip the switch to like sound effects, and one of them was like a gunshot, and one of them was like breaking glass. Well,
this is an interesting song to me. So this is basically Violent J telling him living the story of the Wizard of Oz. But in the story, after the Tin Man, then Dorothy comes in and starts singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and they shoot her with a machine gun.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yes.
And they're like,
I don't think that's canon though.
well, also this is happening. This scenario is in the actual city of Detroit. Like, he's just walking through Detroit. He's like,
yeah, he's in the Southwest. This is also just him
ghetto zone.
What he hallucinated after passing out after drinking Mad Dog.
Right.
7 of them. 7 brews floating through his head. So, you also, I don't necessarily know that he kills her, because it does the gunshots, and they're like, and it's just fuck up, bitch, not shut up.
Yeah.
Fuck up, bitch, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's not, but it is for some reason. And then, then the damn this ain't Kansas hoe.
Oh yeah, he does tell her to get up and get to.
And then he says, "Pick your So I'm assuming
right,
he's shooting in the air, because he says, "So pick your skink ass up, and you and Toto get the fuck on."
That's right.
So, unless she's also like them and can get shot multiple times and not die.
Is she a juggalo?
Honestly, the thing that annoys me more than anything in this entire song is when he says 79 slugs to the motherfucking dope, or to his motherfucking brain. Like, you could have used literally any number, and it would have been less awkward sounding than when he goes 79 slugs to his motherfucking brain.
Yes.
I mean, I guess this song isn't as as I'm making it out to be.
Well, I think the moral of the story is that he has a bad experience when he gets drunk and goes to visit the wizard, but when he gets high to visit the wizard, it's like a whole big, long, interesting story.
Yeah, that makes sense. Don't do alcohol, kids.
Don't do them.
No.
Also, the 79 slugs to his motherfucking brain. The follow-up line, then I step back cool and calm. Like, that's such a teenage sequence of events. It's like, yeah, I was in there, I fucking shot him, but then I stepped back all cool and calm. And
then didn't he go in about dropping cluster bombs right
after
that?
The Tin Man was
the Tin Man was.
Yeah.
Is this a famous the first deep voice? Because the intro was just Violent J's voice.
Yeah. How often do they use the deep voice?
Right.
They use it a lot, but this is the first time. I mean, they don't use it as often as the high-pitched ringmaster voice for sure. But Ryan, would you consider a drop top Geo that says "was on the side a smooth ass ride"?
Hell yeah, in 1991 or whatever. A Geo Storm convertible. I think it was the Geo Storm. There was like only 2 Geos.
Looking at it, it's pretty okay.
I just think it's really great that even in Oz they know Violent J.
Well, because he's famous. We've already covered that he's in showbiz. So after this track is the Poetry Slam interlude.
Yes,
that's right.
One of my most favorite ICP interludes.
It's very good.
All the poems are excellent.
Yes.
I appreciate that I guess it's Jay that starts it, right? And he does a couple.
Yeah, his poet voice is really good. It's like just slightly shifted to be higher, but it's very good. Like, clearly they know a little bit about the poetry slam community.
Right. They're specifically making fun of them. And Shaggy's poem, when he says, "Get the fuck off me, bug."
Yeah. Yes.
The amazing voice that comes out. Like, to me, that is like the core Shaggy voice.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because he does do different voices. Like in later tracks, towards the end of the album, he does both voices in the same track. Like, he does his clown, his clown wacky voice, and his like serious rapper voice. His verse is all serious, and then he goes into the curse, and he's like, wow, 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 wow.
Next up, we have what I believe is, just as far as a song, probably the worst song on the album, which is "Guts on the Ceiling."
Really?
I got nothing but guts hanging off my neck, but I'm still chilling, even with my bloody guts all over the ceiling. I'm chilling, with my guts all over the ceiling. I'm chilling, I'm milling, with my guts all over the ceiling. I'm chilling.
Yeah, it's bad.
I like that song.
All right.
Yeah, I wrote like 3 things about this. I didn't have very.
Let's hear them.
Well, so this is like another one of their not clowny songs. Like, there's not really any talk or discussion of like anything related to the Dark Carnival or clowns, and so that makes me think that it's like an older one that they just kind of threw in there. And he does say, "You'll never guess what's up," right? That's that is something else. Is that from another song?
Yes, they say that earlier in the album. I pointed that out too.
Right. So that's what I thought. It's a callback to an earlier song, but I can't remember which one it was. And then the other thing is the note that I wrote. I'm trying to look up the lyrics. I wrote "Sensual Joe." That was supposed to trigger a memory in my mind.
Maybe the voice he uses when Shaggy calls him on the phone?
Sure, yeah, probably.
To me, what makes this song so bad is that even for ICP, even for Carnival of Carnage era ICP, the premise of this song is so paper thin, and the track goes on forever. The entire premise of the song is, what if you exploded but we're still alive?
Right.
Which might be high concept and could definitely get, I think could definitely, like, 1998 ICP on could probably make a fun, compelling track out of that premise. 1991 Violent J absolutely cannot.
All he could do is write a list of body parts, every body part he can think of, and then try to find words to make them rhyme.
But most of the first verse is just different ways of him saying jaw. Like, my jaw's over there, and also my chin's there, and also my jaw's gone.
Well, see, I guess I saw it a little bit different, because most of these songs on this album, to me, don't feel like a lot of ICP songs. And this one felt more like an ICP song to me, in that it's a random song where Violent J's dying or dead for no reason, and he's like off on some escapade trying to do something with only part his body. Or, you got songs like where he's in hell, weird stuff's happening, and later albums, you got bodies flying through the sky and explode. You got him where he goes crazy and gets chopped up with chainsaws, but still continues his killing spree. You got him where he's like trying to, you know what I mean? Like, I can keep going on. And this song felt like the first of those type of songs where it just doesn't really make sense. It's just this willy-nilly blood and guts, which literally guts on the ceiling. There was imagery that was funny to me about like living in a poor neighborhood and seeing like tennis shoes hanging over a telephone pole wire, and instead it was his guts. Like someone calls him and says, "Hey, found your guts hanging on a telephone wire." Like that stuff was really funny to me. So I kind of saw it a little bit different, I guess.
No, that's a really good observation, and I wasn't thinking about that. Like, that is definitely a big part of the Insane Clown Posse mythos, is that wicked clowns never die.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's exactly what you're saying, Steve. It's kind of like a style of song that they frequently employ, where they just think about a small thing and write a whole entire song about it.
Yeah. I also really like the music on this song, probably better than any of the other songs as far as music-wise goes. This song really stands out to me.
Well, they end up sampling this song in another one of their songs later on.
Maybe that's what it is.
But my last observation about this song is that for at least two of the verses of the song, Violent J tries to make the word muckin' happen.
Uh-huh.
So in the course of the first 4 lines of the song, he says muckin' and he says father mucker.
Yes, yes, he does.
So yeah, just like, you think the man does it on purpose? Do you think he just doesn't know how to talk?
I think he does it on purpose.
Yeah.
He just likes to fucking fill out the space.
Well, yeah, like you were saying, he likes to feel the words, and I have this very strong compulsion also, as I like to, if I think of a word or I hear someone say a word that is intriguing to me, I immediately need to feel the way that word feels coming out of my face.
And when we get into better ICP songs, that becomes one of the best things about ICP, is just how fun it is to say the words. But yeah, I remember, like, I felt like this song was just fine. Like, I don't think when I would listen to the album, I definitely wouldn't skip it. Maybe like towards the end, because it's like rather long. But yeah, just like every other track on this album is like 11 minutes long.
It's so long.
I like listening to Steve talk about the imagery. I think that the imagery in it is interesting stuff. But like for some reason, it's not super compelling to me. As a song.
I think the problem is that the problem is the problem of the vast majority of this album. They're still figuring it out.
Right.
They're still learning how to be good at whatever it is they're trying to do. They're still figuring out what the fuck are we doing. And throughout the years, this is the kind of song that Violent J would get really, really good at. But he's not there yet. He's miles away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into a song that's the perfect length. And it has our first actual guest star on it. And that is That You, featuring the one and only Kid Rock.
Violent J, is that you? I'm on the microphone, so what you wanna do? Violent J, is that you? A wicked clown, just for you.
I drink Faco, it's only $1.10. I'm aboard on your tips when we book in. Cause I'm with that kinky shit, ho. I can see you butt naked in your window.
The story that Genius gives is that ICP wanted both Kid Rock and Esham to be on the album because they were the two biggest Detroit hip-hop acts at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they paid Esham $500 for his song. So Kid Rock demanded $600.
He would later go on to marry Pamela Anderson.
He would later go on to be one of the biggest bigots.
He would later go on to run for Senate of America.
He did not.
He is the redneck hoe in question.
I love this song because it's so clearly like, let's get the people from Detroit together, the biggest people, and let them really be themselves. Because Violent J just starts with like, I'm a clown, everybody. Hey, what's up?
This song, I like this song a lot, despite the really horrible things that Kid Rock says in it, because it's a fun song.
Okay, so it's just like, take just the first verse, Violent J's first verse, and just listen to that, and don't listen to anything else in the entire song because it's horrible. But that first verse of Violent J is so good.
It is.
Pardon me, guys. Sorry.
And I don't think that this is a famous verse because I think that there was at least one other instance of it earlier in the album. But I really want to make sure that we point out how often Jay goes to the butt naked well, especially on the coming tracks. Like, there's tracks coming up from now until the end of Carnival of Carnage album. He goes to the butt naked well a lot.
Uh-huh.
And this is one of the first things that Steve pointed out to me the first time he played Great Malenko for me, is he pointed out, like, what he's rapping about right now. He says that he's naked in the song, so you have to picture him naked in the song when you're hearing it, because that's the context of the song.
Don't look at me look at the mic. Don't look at me. Look at the mic.
And Violent J is right. Because everything that he says he does is so much funnier if he's naked doing it.
It's always naked. Yeah, he's
Especially
he's in the
murdering
bushes jacking off while Shaggy's making out with a dead body.
Yeah.
That's Violent J.
Butt naked.
He commits so many of his crimes and murders butt naked,
Yeah.
which is really funny.
I mean,
Like, there's no better. One, there's nothing more horrifying than that. Two, there's nothing that more perfectly undercuts the violence of the situation than like, oh, I was killing people with an axe. Also, my wang was out the whole time.
I also think sometimes, and I don't know if this is like, I doubt it's like conscious, but I think subconsciously there's something about when you're doing something naked, it makes you more like an animal and you're not a human, and so it's not as horrifying. People are horrified that a bear will maul a family, but they're like, but it's nature. You know? I think there's like this unconscious blowback to nature and like the animal nature of mankind, and it takes a little bit of the edge off. Because I have some ideas about other songs coming up about how, I don't know if they purposely sandwich like these certain skits in between songs to take away how awful the song was.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll get more in detail on that later. But I don't know. So I don't know. So this just made me think of that with him being naked. Other than actually it's just funny because he's a fat guy naked, and everyone loves naked fat guys.
I really love, like, towards the end of his verse, he says, "What's this clown shit about? A knife to your neck and your throat's hanging out." And that is like, cool, man. That's I think he spent time on that verse. Like, I'm just gonna like really I gotta get quickly to the core of like what ICP is, because I'm gonna be on this track and Kid Rock's gonna get on it and say a bunch of inane gross shit.
Right. I want to point out that Steve somehow didn't listen to this track before we sat down to record this episode. So we were lucky enough to get to listen to Steve listen to this track for the first time. And he laughed throughout the track. And the first time he laughed was, "I can see you butt naked in your window. Shimmy up the house, I dash, knock, and I press my nuts on the glass." Because that's
In
a
my
soft butt.
Everything is awful. I mean, it's like, if you either A, we're going to laugh at this because the absurdity of how awful it is, or B, we shouldn't be doing this.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so it's
Right,
like,
it's gonna be a real
so-
bummer.
Also, once we get to this album, it's literally all uphill.
Right.
It is.
It gets so
That's
much
the
better.
amazing thing about it. Like, I love that we're like sloshing through the like the gross mire right now, and we're gonna come out just one EP after this.
Okay, so
Yeah,
so
because immediately after this album dropped, ICP was like, maybe women are okay?
I know, like something happened.
I blame John Kick Jazz.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
maybe-
do too.
maybe
And I
yeah,
have
those guys
notes on
left.
that later.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Violent J does a verse. He's like, "This is ICP." He's like, "I'm gonna tell you exactly who I am." And then now it's Kid Rock's turn. Kid Rock gets on. Kid Rock
First he yodels.
Well, no. The first thing he says is,
Let me tell you what I want to do.
he says, "It's me. It's Kid Rock. Let me tell you what I want to do," and proceeds to tell us about necrophilia and how good his semen tastes.
And it's like a super soaker.
Well,
yeah,
okay.
and also
No,
you can
no.
launch it so far.
We have to start. We have to start at the beginning. The second line Kid Rock has on this album, he refers to himself as the N-word.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
That is the second line of his verse.
I forgot
That's
that
like
you
a
guys had
filler.
mentioned that he said the N-word in this song last time. And so when I heard it right now, we're listening to it before we started recording, I was like, did he say the N-word? Like, and I don't know why I was surprised, but
He says the N-word. He also rhymes door with door. So, you know.
No. He rhymes front door with back door. Completely.
yeah, yes.
It's a slant rhyme.
He rhymes 4 with 4 and door with door. So anyways,
also, I want to point out that Violent J has 2.5 verses on this song, and Kid Rock has, I guess, a total of 1.5 verses on this song, and 2 Dope just gets to ask if the respective people are them. Violent J's first verse, going back to it, I drink Faygo, it's only $1.10. I'ma pour it on your tits when we fucking, because I'm with that kinky shit, ho.
Right, throwing soda on people. It's kinky.
I don't feel that putting soda on someone during sex is especially kinky, but I appreciate that Jay is immediately willing to label himself kinky.
Well, here's the thing, guys. On the very first record, here he is telling us that he has a fetish for throwing soda on people.
Oh my god. I feel dirty.
This is it. He's got a raging boner the whole time he's on stage.
He is taking it out of the bedroom and onto us.
Yep. He's thrown soda on me.
Yep, me too. Multiple times.
So
that's pretty wild, guys. Violent J has thrown soda on all of us.
That is mind blowing. That was disgusting. Thank you.
I also want to point out how great the line "Show me a valley, I might yodel in it." Really good.
It's a callback to an earlier moment in the song
where he yodel, or Kid Rock yodels.
Yeah. It's amazing.
And I think he's saying this to ingratiate himself to Kid Rock, but it's just a hilarious line on its own.
My favorite thing about Violent J's second verse is how he admits that he likes to show his nuts to people every day.
Yeah.
It's just like a daily thing for him.
There's a second instance of butt naked in this song. In Violent J's last verse, he says, "Tiptoe, I snuck in your house and fell asleep butt naked on the front couch.
Yes.
So excuse me, Pops, I'm napping. So could you shut the fuck up with that yapping? And your wife's all worked up for nothing. She act like she ain't never seen a wang or something." Because it don't really matter. I'm going to show my nuts to an innocent bystander. Every
fucking day.
You know what? A man's got to have a code, Ryan.
That's right. So we know who you are, man.
Shows his nuts to someone every day.
Yep, that's Violent J. That's who he is.
But another butt naked, and I approve of that. But I think what we all need to talk about is the last thing that Kid Rock says.
Well, first he drowns a woman in a pool, and then he rapes her corpse
and plays her ass like a bongo. And then there's an extended sample of a bongo.
Right.
He can shoot a nut 50 foot like a super soaker, which is easily the most horrifying thing I've ever heard. Because just picture shooting a nut 50 feet.
Well, I've already got the whole 90s Super Soaker commercial playing from when he's already he's in the pool with the floaty toys and all that.
He's got Crocodile Mile set up.
Exactly.
But taste the nut in your mouth just to school you. But don't let the smooth taste fool you. Now I want to unpack this. He repeats that we should not let the smooth taste of his nut fool us.
Yeah.
He's really a terrible person?
What he's saying is, don't let how good my semen tastes distract you from what exactly? That he's a bad person?
He's bad. He's really bad, actually.
Yeah, that was the only thing I could take from that. That was one of the reasons why I was laughing so hard at the end.
Guys, don't let the smooth taste fool you. I do have syphilis.
You have scoliosis.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, I have to let those go. That was great. He says, "Don't let the smooth taste fool you," and then he does like a little bit of skit scat skibbity doo with
it. It is true. He starts freewheeling.
That song fucking sucks, man. Don't listen to it.
It's awful. And just in that last verse, and I don't think it didn't stand out, and it only stood out to me now because I'm like staring at reading it on the lyrics, is where he says, "This ain't no," and this is Kid Rock at the end, about close to the Super Soaker thing. He says, "This ain't no blooper, and I'm no joker."
Mm-hmm.
I kind of see that as a diss to ICP because ICP are jokers.
Absolutely.
And, I think they weren't friends much long after this, right?
Yeah, he was like, you know what? They may have paid me $600 to be on this song, but fuck these guys.
It was like a LL Cool J cannabis situation.
Yeah, exactly. Dissing him on the same track.
Right. Kid Rock's like, no, it's cool. You go first, and then I'll go. Like, I won't say anything bad about you.
I every time it comes up, I need to point out once again, anyone who thinks that LL won that feud is fucking delusional.
Oh my god, yeah. So completely
I don't even
one-sided.
know what the hell you're talking about.
Go listen to 4, 3, 2, 1, and then listen to Second Round KO.
Yep, and then
You
listen
won't
to
be- you
I
won't
don't
be
know what you're
What's
talking
Clef
about.
Then listen
got
to-
to do with it. Got
then
to
listen
do
to-
with it.
Yeah, and listen to What's Clef got to do with it, and then listen to Rip the Jacker, the worst comeback of all time.
Oh my god, yeah. Here's some really like homophobic shit.
Yeah. All right. Anyway,
Yeah.
so
Not
the
interested.
next track is not on the original issue CD. It is on Spotify. It's on the current issue of the CD. Ryan, the person most familiar with this album than all of us, had never heard this song before. This is Night of the Axe.
Showed up at your high school prom with an axe in my motherfucking palm, and I jumped on the front stage swinging. Necks and backs went flinging, and to toe I went psychopath chick, chopping throats with a hatchet, cause they tried to get me. So I took a head with me, ran down the hall butt naked. If you got a life, I'ma take it. 'Cause I got
So actually, you guys, because when this whole thing went down and I realized I didn't have the song or even know about it, I looked it up and I couldn't. So I was trying to figure out the music that I have was ripped onto a hard drive from the CD that I bought for Carnival of Carnage that I bought in whatever year it was, 1995, and that CD is long gone. Like I don't even own any CDs anymore. So I ripped this thing in like probably 99 maybe when I got like a CD burner and sold all my CDs.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know. I remember watching Shockumentary and they were showing images of the CD covers and mine was all black with like half of the Joker's card face on the front. And then they re-released the CD, I guess, and there was like the image, the Carnival of Carnage full like Joker face, like multiple times in a wheel, like in a pinwheel, like a wagon wheel around the CD. So which ones? And so I think that there was now on Spotify, maybe they have all the songs because there were originally 2 versions that were released at different times of Carnival of Carnage. And one of them had Night of the Axe and what's the other one?
Black in Your Eyes.
Black in Your Eyes. 2 tracks I'd never even heard of. And I think that was the earliest one, like the early one that came out. And the one that I had was even a re-release, and it had those 2 songs taken out and had Psychopathic added in. So they took out these 2. I haven't even listened to Black in Her Eyes yet.
Yeah. This song, I mean, ain't great. It's a little bit apocryphal because he's just sort of indiscriminately killing people throughout the song. He kills a family, goes into a family's house and just kills the family.
He puts him in the trunk of her Pinto.
Yes. The reason I enjoyed this song is because there are 2 interludes. One interlude is good. One interlude fucking killed me, is the most I have laughed at anything on this album. So the first interlude is a cop played by Shaggy pulls Violet J over after he's been naked and killed a family and put them in the back window. And he's like, he interrogates him, and after every question or line, Jay says out loud, "Just don't look at the trunk." Saying it to himself, but he's actually saying it out loud. And finally, the cop says, "Oh, the trunk, huh?" So that's great. That's fucking great.
I love that too. Yeah,
It's pretty good.
That also, he name drops Killeen, Texas. He says, "Jetting up, hopping fences, finna do like my man in Killeen, Texas," which is a reference to a mass shooting at a restaurant
Jesus
in
Christ.
1991. But anyway, but the
Istanbul Cinco.
so he says, verse 3 is Violent J saying like he's hopping fences. He wants to pay tribute to this man, and he's heading to the restaurant. And then the next skit, interlude, is a Spanish song playing in a restaurant setting. There's restaurant sounds.
Yeah, it's awful.
But Shaggy is quiet at the restaurant. He starts to say, "Oh shit, Padro, I'm fucking full, man." He says Padro, which is sublime. But the response of the gentleman working at the establishment is, I'm a swing Padro. Responds with, "Fucking burritos, man." To which Shaggy replies, "That will fuck me up, man." And that back and forth is, to me, the funniest and most brilliant thing of the entire album. So, as bad as the rest of the song is, problematic subject matter, whatever, I'll take it for these two skits. Because, God damn it, when I heard the, "Oh shit, Padro, I'm fucking full, man. Burritos, man." Like, I had to back up and listen to it like 6 times. You can't see it if you're listening to the podcast, but Ryan was laughing so hard he was clutching his chest like he was having a heart attack.
Oh, my chest, it hurts. It hurts. I'm crying.
So I'm very happy that this song was on the album and that we get to talk about it just for that.
I like the song.
Yeah.
I may have actually thinking now, I may have gotten the music mixed up between Guts on the Ceiling and this song. I think this actually has the more interesting music compared to Guts on the Ceiling. I can't remember. Because I really like both those songs. And but this one, it stands out to me, 'cause those skits, like you said. And but it's just got some great lines in it, and more butt naked stuff, and more just like not butt naked, but
No, it's butt naked. Yeah.
There is a butt
Yeah,
naked
okay.
in there, yeah.
But we were talking about like making up words. So in here is a great line. Well, first, after the amazing verse about "I'll get a job at a donut shop just to poison a cop," ha. And then he goes kleptopathic or kleptopathic. It's just another like thing they just made up, you know.
Yeah. While we're bringing it up, in case I forget to talk about it, Carnival of Carnage contains the word kleptopathic, psychoklepto, and kleptopsychic.
Yeah. Well,
brilliant.
Somehow the bitches like it.
The cop skit, he says, "We got a wild one here. He's naked. He's got blood on his hands." Like, God damn it. It's so good. Because the first verse, it's like 8 lines in. He's talking about chopping throats with a hatchet. He took a head with him. He ran down the hall butt naked. He got life, I'm gonna take it. So he breaks into like the women's bathroom. He runs away. He ties someone to a light post. He goes to this family's house, kills a whole family, then goes to a restaurant. He is naked he's naked for the song. He showed up at the high school prom. That's where he is to start the song.
He been naked, Bill. He's been naked since day one.
I was excited to just point out those skits.
I don't even remember those skits.
The skits are great. There's something about this song too. So it goes actually right back to Guts on the Ceiling. This is another song where he's just nuts doing crazy shit. And he does it so much better in other songs later on. I'm actually thinking like even on The Calm. I know I think that's an EP you guys haven't ever really listened to.
It's a great EP. No, it's a great EP.
Yeah, that's like one almost my go-to. If I'm just like wanting to listen to ICP to reminisce, I go to the Calm. That's the album I pick now, or the EP. I just fucking love that one.
If the Calm had Growing Again on it, it would be perfect.
Yes, Growing Again's a great song.
Yeah,
oh my
that's a
god,
good
yeah,
song.
we can't, yeah.
That's actually
Yeah.
that's one of the first songs that Bill played for me that I hadn't
That
heard.
you hadn't heard.
Yeah.
So this episode's getting a little bit long, so I assume there's no further thoughts. Let's go to the last track we're going to talk about this week, which is Psychopathic, which in discussions amongst ourselves, Steve, you had said this was your favorite track so far.
Shoot him in the face, step back and it's my nuts. Less him in a sack, cause I fuck so hard it'll break they back. All the pressure packed into one nut. I was waiting on a bus and my head blew up. And a sight'll make you sick. Violent J, motherfucker, psychopathic.
Well, I kind of have a tie for first. I have a toss-up between this song, Psychopathic, and Never Had It Made. So
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about that next week. So
yeah. But for definitely for this block or to this point in the album, this is definitely my favorite song, and it has a lot to do with the skit that goes into it. How I first heard this song was with the skit that goes into it, and it wasn't on this album. I don't think the CD I had. No, the CD I got, maybe the CD I had this album, but I heard this on a CD I had bought, and maybe it was like Hatchet History or something, because I had taken a ton of CDs and put them on. I made on an iPod I had and made 100-song rotation list, and I didn't associate this song with this album forever. This was just a standalone song to me that I didn't know where it existed until one day I finally started listening to this album. I'm like, oh, there it is. So
I don't remember, Steve. What's the skit?
crap.
it's the one with the ghettos of America are breeding grounds for the criminal-minded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's got the weird like effect on the voice, and then there's just like something about like, you know, this is like your own creation, or come and see like from your own creation, because they're just talking about how, you know, a bad parenting and fucked up society created this like army of, you know, psychopaths. Just like straight off in the beginning of the song, you know, he's like this ugly guy, you know, he can't get a job, no job's looking for me.
Got hair like Chewbacca.
I got hair like Chewbacca. The sight of me will make you sick. Violent J, motherfucker. Psychopathic. Like, you know, like it starts off with society's already like said fuck you to him, and so now here's his excuse to be an awful human being back.
And this is the second instance of fuck so hard it'll break their back.
Yes, it is.
But he's not having sex with anybody.
Well, he's hating sluts.
He's hating sluts.
Shoot him in the face, step back and itch my nuts. Less I'm in the sack, because I fuck so hard it'll break their back. All the pressure is packed into one nut.
One nut.
I was on a bus and my head blew up.
The sight of it will make you sick.
See,
I think all the pressure is packed into one nut is such a perfect preview of what Violent J's lyricism would eventually become, because it doesn't really have anything to do with what he's talking about. Also, it doesn't make any sense. But he's saying it as a boast.
yeah, he's super proud of it, man.
Hey, check it out. All the pressure's available. Check it out. Come look. Just presses his nuts to the window.
I don't know why you don't think that's brilliant.
Well, he's so backed up and his head is exploded.
Oh, it is brilliant. That's what I'm saying.
It's
Like,
just like, to me, this is the things like that slowly lead in, and I pick these out as jewels from this album because of how awful some of these songs are on this album.
you gotta look,
you know
for
what I
the
mean?
Rays of light in the darkness.
Yeah, and as mean as this album is, to get those kind of funny things that will lead into be more what they do makes me appreciate it a lot more on this album. So
the beat is fucking amazing, right? The production, the samples from the classic horror sounds,
yes,
all completely
tweet,
amazing.
Tweet. Yes.
Yeah, the driving bass line or whatever for the regular verse parts I think is so good. The first note that I wrote about the song is Violent J fully formed. Like I feel like this is when he's like gelled with his identity as Violent J and knows how to make the songs like work with the narrative that he's trying to tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he does, and even though it's like a serious kind of song, I do feel like the tone is like a little bit more serious. He still throws in ridiculous shit like mispronouncing the words and things like that. Even though it is like, I think it's a more of a serious song.
I think it is too. This again, just I keep repeating myself, so I apologize. But these are songs that are gateways into like different, because they have like different types of songs. There's their serial killer clown songs. There's their like standalone serial killer weird song that's not even canon to the Dark Carnival. Like Fawn's Pond. Well, that's not them, but they play on that. But just like there's different songs. Oh, I think Fawn's Pond is them. Anyways, there's just these different avenues of where they go with their stories. And I just feel like this is another opening door. I mean, it is a serious song, and it has like those gems that make it funny. And then he takes out the seriousness later on in these versions of this song.
Right.
Another famous verse is the first shout out to Billy Bill.
Oh.
But my other little Bon Mot couplet from Violent J is, I'm running with a Southwest street gang, and I never let my Southwest meat hang. Which is not true, emphatically.
He's always naked.
He's always showing his nuts to people and just not naked.
Yeah, he's naked later in the song. I mean...
But he's not naked when he's running with his crew. It's different. When he's a gangster,
I see.
He's proper.
Yeah, I guess that's probably what he's saying.
Also, this is the first time that they get fully metatextual when he talks about making a sexist remark. Then I'll make a sexist remark, and then he makes a sexist remark.
He also says in this rapping to the bitch at the french fry stand?
Yeah.
And I can't...
Well, that's... Wait. Right before that, he rhymed festival with testicles. That's a good one.
Yes.
Good job, Jake.
He does. I can't say why that's endearing of rapping to...
It's completely... And that's the other thing that makes... Like, that's what I was talking about earlier when the John Kick Jazz verse didn't fit at all with the Violent J and Shaggy verses, is because they're so low class, but they're never, like, they own it so wholeheartedly all the time. Like, I'm trying to hit on girls at the French fry stand. Like, but they're not saying that part of the song is not at all to be outlandish. It's the truth.
See, I took it as him literally rapping at her.
He's just freestyling
because
at her.
I know, and I can't say why, but I know people who fancy themselves as rappers that rap at people, like at Hooters. And so hearing them... No, it's not
semi-autobiographical.
No, I wish I had that kind of confidence.
you go to Hooters and you're like, ooh.
I go to Hooters and I never pick my face up off the floor. I just stare down the whole time. I'm not objectifying you. I just want chicken wings.
Well, so I think that, like, as an older person going back and listening to them now, this would definitely be probably my favorite song on the album. I think it stands a little bit taller than everything else.
Also, it samples Halloween, which is amazing.
Yeah, and it samples Halloween.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to everyone for listening in on this one. Next week, we'll be listening to the end of Carnival of Carnage. Hooray!
Yay!
So you'll be listening to the other tracks on the album, which are Black in Your Eyes, Never Had It Made, Your Rebel Flag, Ghetto Freak Show, and Taste. And I just want to say off the bat, we probably won't have a lot to say about Black in Your Eyes. Also, trigger warning for Black in Your Eyes. Like, You probably shouldn't listen to the track. We probably won't talk about it very much, if at all, but it's out there for you if you want to listen to it. Also, if you get triggered by shitting on rebel flags, also you should skip your rebel flag. But until next week, Instagram, Dim Carnival, email us, dimcarnival@gmail.com, Twitter, Dim Carnival. And thanks to all of you for listening. Listen to the end of Carnival of Carnage, because guess what? After next week, it gets way more awesome. Okay. Until next week, everybody, I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
Bye.